Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is January 31st, 2023. And for the record, would you please state your name and address?
My name is Bob Elbertson, and I live at the Doubleday with, what's that, 94 Church Street, Boston Spa.
Okay, great. And Bob, you were a veteran of the Second World War, is that
Yes.
right? Okay. Why don't we start by having you tell us just a little bit about your background prior to your service?
Well, I was in high school. I mean,
Now, where'd you grow up?
down in New Jersey.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Morristown, New Jersey, little town. And I went to school there. War came along, I quit high school and joined the Navy,
Okay. And what year was that?
1944.
Okay, good. Now, when you joined the Navy, where did you join in?
I joined in Philadelphia
My hometown, by the way.
a long time ago.
Okay, and from there, were you sent to boot camp?
I went to boot camp in Great Lakes. And then after boot camp, they sent me to gunnery school in the Great Lakes.
Okay, now what was your experience like in the boot camp?
Hell,
Were you drafted or did you
no,
sign
I
up by?
enlisted.
You enlisted by
So I
yourself.
was regular Navy.
Okay,
Most of the guys I was in with were drafted and very bitter. I was enlisted and I asked for it. So I said, you asked for it, you son of a gun? You're gonna put up with it. And I did. So I had a good experience while I was in the Navy.
good. Now, when you say that the boot camp was hell, would you like to explain that a little?
Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning, come on, get up. We're gonna start a 5-mile walk. 20 below zero in Great Lakes.
And
And we go out and march around for half the night, go back, hit the sack again. 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, get to sleep in. Like fun.
and how long was the boot camp?
Boot camp back in those days was about 8 weeks. Because the war was going on. They wanted to get us in and get us out.
Okay. And from there you went to gunnery school?
Then I was one of the few that was sent to a gunnery school, Class A school,
Okay. Where was that?
Great Lakes,
Oh, okay. In the same location?
same location.
Okay. So what can you tell us about your training at the gunnery school?
Well, we learned to repair guns.
Okay. And also to fire them?
No. When I asked the guy, I said, okay, we're going to gunnery school, what's that? He said, that's where we learn to fire the guns. I said, oh yeah? He says, yeah. We learned to fix the guns when they didn't fire.
When did you learn, or where did you learn to fire the guns?
Actually, when they did take us out on a range to fire the guns, and we fired anywhere up to 40 millimeters out on the range. When you actually got to fire the big guns was out in the ocean.
Oh, okay.
So when you were there, the war in Europe was over.
Pretty much over,
It
yes.
stopped while you were still there.
Uh-huh.
So then there was only one place. Now, were you always pretty sure you were going to have to go overseas, or did you think you might be serving in the country?
We weren't sure, but we figured 90% of us were going to go overseas. And we did.
And were most of the people in the Navy sent to the Pacific, I assume?
Pacific, right.
Right. Okay.
I was sent to New Guinea
Okay, now, I see in your notes, from the gunnery school, you were sent to California, and then you were put on a ship from San Francisco.
From San Francisco, we were put on an aircraft carrier
Okay? What was your, yeah.
as passengers,
Oh,
and we couldn't get a plane off of that ship if we wanted to. It was so packed in with planes, bombs, aviation fuel.
how many sailors do you think were on the ship with you at the time?
Well, actual crew was about, I don't know, I guess about 400 or 500. But we were just passengers.
Right.
There was about another 300.
Okay. And what was the experience like on the ship?
Well, we were overcrowded, and we didn't do too much because there wasn't anything for us to do. And so we pretty much just laid around till we got over to Hollandia, New Guinea.
Okay.
Were you ever on the ship before, or was this your
No.
first time?
The first time.
Did you ever get seasick?
I got a little seasick when I first went out of the Golden Gate. But that was,
Yeah.
and we got a little most of us got a little seasick. But I never got seasick after that.
After that.
And how long were you on the ship?
We were on there 30 days before we got to Hollandia.
Okay. And at what point did somebody tell you what your duty would involve when you got to Hollandia?
Well, actually, we were stuck in a tent for about 2 months. We finally got assigned to a garbage scow, the Amphibians Corps.
Okay.
That was these little things that puttered around, and you saw the invasions, these little things puttered around. That's what we were on. And we pretty much got on those things.
Okay.
When you were crossing over, was there any fear of submarines or anything like that?
No, and that's the thing that worried us, because we were all by ourselves. A beautiful aircraft carrier all by itself, loaded down with planes, bombs, stuff like that. No escort, no nothing. We got to, I can't remember where it was now, about 2 weeks out of New Guinea, and we picked up an Australian Corvette, and they escorted us in.
Okay. When you were on the ship, did you have a chance to fire the guns at all, just to practice them?
On that ship, we were basically passengers.
Right. Not the crew, so.
We weren't the crew.
And did the crew ever have a chance to fire the guns? Just
No, we never saw them.
To
Jab
test
or
them?
nothing.
okay.
So you crossed the equator for the first time.
Huh?
You crossed the equator,
For the first time, yeah.
and New Guinea must have been quite a different weather pattern than it was in Chicago.
Oh, yes. It was hot. And we suffered the heat, pretty much, when we first went over.
So you wrote that after a while, when you were in New Guinea, you were assigned to an LCT?
An LCT, yeah.
Okay. What did that involve?
Well, out there was nothing, no docks or nothing. And what we did was load from the big ships that sometimes were 4 and 5 miles out.
Mm.
We loaded from them and took them ashore because we only drew about 3 foot of water. And we would go in, run right up on the beach, unload, go out and get another load.
And what sort of equipment were you loading?
Personnel, men, troops, taking troop ashore, take ashore. And sometimes we would take, we would have bombs, we'd have gasoline, supplies basically, to keep the guys ashore going.
Now, was New Guinea totally secure when you got to that island? Or were there still Japanese on there?
There were still little pockets of Japanese, but we never saw them. They pretty much had them wiped out.
And you said you did garbage jobs.
Well, we call them garbage jobs.
Yeah.
Running the bombs and stuff like that ashore for the Marines.
So there must have been breaks in the coral reefs to get through. That's why they used the LCTs.
Right. Because we only drew, as I said, about 3 or 4 feet of water. And we could get across those reefs.
So were you working in shorts or pants or what?
I'm sorry,
Were you working in shorts or trousers?
shorts most of the time. When we could steal them or get a pair of jeans from someplace and cut the bottoms off of them to make shorts out of them. And it was good duty.
And you were all living in tents?
No, we were on these LCTs,
Oh, okay.
12 men and 2 officers.
Oh, okay.
Now, when you were there, is that when you heard that the war had come to an end?
Actually, we had gone on up, we were island hopping. And I'm not sure what island we were on when we heard that the war had ended.
And what happened when you heard that the war had
Got
come?
drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that's the only time you got drunk.
Of course not.
Okay.
I was in the Navy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And later on we can talk about that. But so you went to Leyte, you went to Luzon, you went to all. But by the time you got there, hostilities had kind of simmered down.
They were all secured by then.
Okay. So,
I mean, there were little pockets of Japanese, maybe a dozen men or something like that. And the Marines were going to wipe them out.
Did you were you aware or did you hear about the atomic bomb?
We didn't know anything about the atomic bomb. Not until after it had been fired.
right. And when did you leave New Guinea? When did you leave New Guinea?
Well, we went on up to the Philippines, and I think it's on my sheet there.
Yeah.
When I went to the Philippines, and then from the Philippines, after 2 years, I finally got 30 days leave, and I came home for 30 days.
Okay. What was your duty like when you were in the Philippines?
Ship to shore, ship to shore, ship to shore. 24 hours sometimes,
Also to unload the supplies?
taking supplies in. I mean, those poor guys, sure, they had to eat, they had to have ammunition, and otherwise they couldn't get stuff ashore.
So when you were on leave and you came home,
I came back to New Jersey, yeah.
did you have to get on a ship and come back, or they fly you back, or what?
In those days you didn't fly.
Okay, so you were on a ship, which probably took 2 weeks of your leave.
Well, our leave didn't start until we got home.
Oh, okay, okay.
And in the Navy, you're supposed to have 30 days a year.
So that must have been good coming home,
Yeah,
and probably not so good going back.
I was home for 30 days. I got married. And then went back overseas again.
And when you went back overseas, was it also to the Philippines?
I went to Japan.
Okay. And what did you do there?
Well, I picked up a ship here and we patrolled up and down the Yellow Sea and stuff like that. Because the Japs were still running guns up the slot.
Really?
And,
Even though the war was over?
the war was over.
Wow.
They didn't know it though.
No, a lot of Japanese fought for years after that. And then I see eventually you started going up the coast in China.
Yeah, all the way from China, Shanghai,
Right. I think.
Tsingtao,
Right.
Right. In Hong Kong. In Hong Kong?
Hong Kong.
And what was the duty like there? Was it also just basically patrolling the coast?
Yeah,
Okay.
because by then I was on a destroyer. They had transferred me to the love of my life, a destroyer,
What was the name of the ship?
Blue.
Okay, I see we have a picture of that, which we'll have you show in a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay, why do you call it the love of your life?
I always wanted a destroyer. I always felt that was the guts of the Navy, and it was.
Interesting.
So what was going on in China at that time that you were aware of?
Not much.
So the internal struggle with the communists hadn't really started yet.
One day, I had what was called the guard mail duty. I went to all the ships that were anchored, picked up the mail to go ashore. And one day when I got ready to go, the sergeant at arms asked me, he says, you got a 45? And I said, yes. He said, okay, I want you to load one round into the chamber.
Yeah, I know what that was for.
So I loaded one in. As soon as I loaded one in, he shoved another one in its place. Then he handed me a Thompson submachine gun. He said, okay, you'll be met by a contingent of Marines. I was never so glad to see a Marine in my life. Because when we got ashore, they were screaming. These Japanese were screaming and at us.
Japanese or Chinese?
You can't tell the difference.
Okay, well let that one go. Okay, so but you were in China, but it sounds, like.
But the Chinese were getting ready to take over.
Right.
And,
After the occupation of the Japanese.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Now, I'm sorry.
so that's where we were. But we had to go ashore twice a day with this, what we called the guard mail. It was important communiques and stuff like that they want to get back to the States. And so we I went in the mornings and the other guy went in the afternoons. Sometimes we'd switch over, but it was called the guard bill run.
Now there's something in your notes that late in 1946 you got into a bit of an altercation that led to you being in the hospital.
A brawl?
Is that anything that you wanted to tell us about, or not really?
I was in a drunken brawl.
And you were trying to break it up, probably.
No, I was part of the brawl.
You remember what the reason was for the brawl?
One branch of the service didn't like the other branch of the service.
Okay.
Marines hated the Navy hated the Marines.
Why do you think that is? Because I see that in a lot of movies where the Army didn't like the Navy didn't like the Air Force. Why do you think that was?
I think it was just jealousy.
Okay.
That's all I can say. Because we got if we got in a fight, and there was a bunch of Marines and a bunch of the Army were fighting civilians, we all fought together till it was done. Then we would fight each other.
Not an unusual situation.
No, I guess not.
So it looks like shortly after that you were released and you had your terminal leave.
Well, they sent me home, and I was put on 30 days leave, and then I was discharged from in Philadelphia.
Back to the brawl. You were in the hospital like 10 days.
Yeah,
You must have been pretty beaten up.
yeah. I had a big chunk of my jaw was cut,
Oh my.
cut open.
So did you send the picture back to your new wife?
Of course not.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, so you got out of the service, and when you were out of the service, just can you briefly tell us what happened after that?
Well, I took a civilian job. I was a civilian then.
Okay. And what was the impact, you think, that your service had on you throughout the rest of your life?
I was more I guess I was more aware of what Army life or civilian life was as compared to military life. And so I was I don't know how to put it. I was more aware of being a military person as being a military person. And how do I put it? I was more apt to be a Navy man than I was
To be a civilian.
to be a civilian, yeah. It took me a while to adjust to civilian life, although I did take a job for a Ford dealership, and I became a civilian.
Yeah. And did you ever get together with any of your mates over the years?
Yes, back in 1960, what was it, 67, we had a reunion back in Sodas Point.
So does Point, New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And 25 years. So I went to that. We had a weekend up there. Guy owned a chain of drugstores, and he had a beautiful home. And we had the gatherings at his place. And there was probably 100 and some odd guys
Wow.
showed up for it. And we had a good time. We had a good weekend. And they've had them since, but I never went to them. I mean, they had one in Alabama. I don't want to go to Alabama to see guys that I hated in the first place.
And did you speak to your family much about your experience in the service?
What's there to talk about?
Interesting, interesting. Were any of your family members in the service at some other point later
Yeah.
on?
My kid brother joined the Navy. I can't remember when. He went in the submarine service.
Mm.
He did a hitch in the Navy, in the Marines, submarines.
Did you, when you came back, you had been married for a month, and then you shipped off again. So, how was it getting used to each other as a couple again? Was that hard?
Very difficult. We were strangers. We'd gone together as sweethearts in high school.
Right.
Then we got married, and I went back overseas again. And I was gone for a year.
Right.
What else do you want to know?
Well, yeah.
Well, no, and then you say you came back and you were like strangers, so you had to get to know each other
We had to
again.
get to know each other in more ways than one.
And everything worked out fine?
Oh yeah,
Great.
we were married for 26 years.
And when Vietnam came on the scene, or Korea, did you have any thoughts about those wars?
I thought about the Korean War. I was thinking maybe I'd get called up again. But the Korean War was not a naval war. The Vietnam War was not a naval war. So they didn't need us regular guys to go back in. So I never had any thoughts about going back in again. I would go if not, because when you're discharged from the regular Navy, you're automatically in the reserves.
So how long were you in the reserves?
I was already in the active service 3 years,
And then how long were you in the reserves?
the rest of my life.
All right, I have a few things that you brought in here. I wanted to have you explain them. If you want to, that's the picture of you, and if you want to hold that up at some point.
Yeah, that was I was on a repair ship for a couple months.
Okay, can you turn that around so we can get a picture of that on the tape? So that's you with a curly head of hair. And
I wish I never could boast of a curly head of hair. Let me get a good shot of this.
so what are you doing in the picture?
I was checking out a gun. They needed regular maintenance on them.
Okay, now here's another photograph. I'll just put this in front here for a second. This is an LCT, landing
That's the LCT.
craft tank. So
And only a 2.5-foot draft. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the configuration. You had 12 guys sleeping in these compartments.
Nice.
Nice and cozy.
Right.
Now here's one that you call the love of your life, the Blue.
Blue, I went on her in Shanghai. I was transferred.
Let me just, oh, it says it's a Sumner class? What does that mean?
It's a class. Well, every ship has a class. And that was the Sumner class. Ship.
So what do you think about when you see war movies?
Hollywood. I don't go and see these movies too much. They're glorified, and there's not much truth to a lot of them. There are some that are very good. I can't tell you which ones because I don't go to movies. But there were some that came out that were 80% accurate. Most of them were inaccurate.
So in looking at your notes, there was a lot of day-to-day, I don't want to say drudgery, but the same thing over and over and over.
Day to day to day to day.
And how was the chow? How was the chow?
Well, if you can eat it and keep it down, it was good.
Okay.
Okay, now I want to
Yes.
get to the uniform. I'm going to hold this up. This is your uniform.
Down a little bit. Down. That's perfect.
Okay. Was this the one that you used the entire time you were in the Navy? I'm just going to give this to you to hold if you'd like.
No,
Okay. What would you like to tell us about the uniform? When did you wear it? And then we'll talk about the ribbons and
Dog tags.
the medals and the dog tags.
well, I'm sure to tell about it.
How long did you have that uniform when you were in the service?
Well, I got it when I got back to San Francisco. The second time I had these made. These are tailor-mades.
Okay.
And
Right.
this is an Asiatic Pacific.
Right.
I can't remember.
Okay.
That's the Philippine campaign. That's the victory. And American defense.
Okay, now there's a medal. Let me just over here. What's this medal over here?
That one I hide because it's a good conduct medal.
I think you earned
Was
that.
it given to you in error? Was it given to you in error?
Well, no, I never got in trouble.
Okay.
I never got caught.
Okay. And what's the dog tags here?
That's a dog tag.
Okay, so you have two of them. Why you had two pair?
We had a pair of them.
Right. Okay. So you said,
One you wore at all times, and the other one maybe like in your locker or something like that. You always had two of them.
okay. So let me take.
So how did you feel about leaving the service? It sounds like you had made a way of life while you were in the service.
My one regret is that I left the Navy. But when I got married, I promised my wife that I would come out of the Navy. So I came out, and my hitch was up. I came out. I wish I'd have stayed in. I would have been 37 years old, retired, drawing a pension. I don't know where it was back in those days, but I'd be drawing a pension. And,
Yeah, but you know, when you're 23 or 24, it's hard to think about a pension
right.
because you're 23. You know, it's different.
We, a lot of us talked about retirement. A lot of us talked about staying in. When I was in China, my hitch was coming up. A hitch is a term of service. And they tried to talk me into shipping over for another hitch, which would have been 6 years. Because when I went in, I was underage. And so I went in as a 20 years old. And I would have been, I would have gone in as a 21-year-old, still had to go till I was,
27.
yeah. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the odds.
Well, and so what were you getting paid? How much were you getting paid?
See, I was a third-class petty officer. I was getting paid around $50 a month.
Did you invest it wisely? I'm only kidding. I'm sorry. Okay.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about?
Well,
About-
Drank most of it up.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to tell us about your experience in the service?
I had a good experience. As I said, I asked for it. When I was on the LCTs, our officers, I won't tell you in the presence of young fella here, the language that we use for them. Now we call them 90-day wonders. They went to Naval Reserve Officer Training,
right.
and they went to school to learn to be officers. When the war was over and they got rid of those shitheads, if you were one of them, I'm sorry.
Never heard that word before. Never heard that word before.
Well, anyway, we became a crew of, like the Blue. All those men on the Blue were men who had joined the Navy, and they served, and they, what do I want to say?
It sounds like you were one as one.
Yeah. We got in fights every day, but there was at least one fight a day. That night you'd go ashore and go to a movie together. But, no, I had a good experience while I was in, but I was only in for 3 years. And my experience was very good. once, especially after the war was over. I mean, when these 90-day wonders, they had a gold thing on their arm, and they thought they were King Tut. And boy, when they chewed you out, for no reason sometimes, but when you got on a regular ship, regular Navy, these men treated you as a man, and so you were addressed as a man
Right. With respect.
with respect.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking straight today.
Oh, I think you're.
Yeah,
I think
you're
you're
doing fine.
thinking very straight.
Yes.
Your answers are really good and poignant, to the point. I think you had a great interview. Really,
Yes.
it's been a pleasure.
You
I
have.
hope I've given you what you wanted, but I can't remember back that far.
Oh, I think you did a great job. I really do.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to thank you. Want to thank you for coming up for Boston Spas. The gas still cheap down there? Probably is, isn't it? Yes, it is. And thank you again for your service.
Yes,
I think
absolutely. We thank you for the interview and we thank you for your service.
you're a remarkable man. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Can I get a picture of